First, it was the Koreans posting all-time sales records for the month of August. Then it was Toyota and Lexus showing their stuff up over double-digit percentage points. And then yesterday, it was Honda and Acura and how they were once looking pretty strong this year and now we're starting to see a decline. And we have two more automakers that have posted sales that we're going to go over today. And this is Mazda and Subaru. This is going to be very fascinating. They're very import dependent from cars coming in from Japan. While there are some bright spots going on right now, especially if you're the Koreans and Toyota, we look at the overall percentage up this month and it's 5%. So there's some companies like Honda and Mazda, Subaru, which are very import dependent, dragging down the industry. Lincoln dragging down the industry. Volvo dragging things down. So we're going to pull up the sales of Subaru and Mazda. We're going to tackle them both today and see what the heck is going on with these companies who were, if we go back to the total sales for year to date, Mazda is up 3.5%. Subaru's at 0%. They're just hanging in there. All right, but let's start with Mazda. Best ever sales for August for the CX-90. It's only been on sale for a couple of years, so that's not saying much. Second best sales of CX-50 for the August. Again, that's not saying much because the CX-50 has only been around for what, 3 years at this point, something like that. So we're going to get right down to the sales numbers here. And there has been some communication lately that Mazda is purposefully not sending and not producing that many Mazda 3s nor CX-30s from their plants in Mexico and Japan because the tariffs don't make it, there's no business case. AB, are you done? You done with the Pringles? So they've stopped importing their low profit margin vehicles in order to bring more large platform vehicles or better selling vehicles overall. So we're going to keep seeing the demise of the Mazda 3. And at this point, Mazda is just one step away from being a crossover only brand if they kill the Mazda 3. The MX-5 is still on the market, but that's a niche product. So really Mazda is likely with no direct replacement or news of a new Mazda 3 coming out. I think this is the end of the road of the Mazda 3. Bless you. Okay, so this is just, it's really, really, really ugly right now for the Mazda 3, and it's going to be equally as ugly for the CX-30. Down 40% on the month, down 35% on the year, and it's not going to get any better. Today, or yesterday, Trump did sign the official 15% tariffs for Japan. Okay, so they're not going to be hit with the 25%, still hit with the 15%. And that 15%, probably the Mazda 3 and the CX-30 just don't make any sense bringing it into the US when they sell not that great. And, you know, they don't have that great of a profit margin. The MX-5 Miata up 20%. Check out my comparison against the Mini convertible. It held up quite well to the Mini despite the Mini being brand new, redesigned. All right, so the MX-5 Miata, keep going. All right, up 30% on the year. We already mentioned how the CX-30 is down and will continue to be down. CX-5, as we're close to that redesign, it will be available in the first half of next year, and who knows when the hybrid's like first half of 2027. My goodness. The CX-5, its best-selling vehicles, up 3% on the year, but down 5% on the month. The CX-50, however, and I pointed this out, all right, the CX-50, it's up 20% on the month. It's also up about 40% on the year. But you got to keep in mind, the CX-50 is the only Mazda built in the United States. It's built in Alabama. All right, so if I go to the Toyota sales, we look at the Corolla Cross. That's also built in that same plant. Look, oh, he's just got the Corolla keys out of my fanny pack. The Corolla Cross is down 18% of the month, while the CX-50 is up 20%. I think this is a handshake agreement between Toyota and Mazda to give Mazda more U.S. production. It's their only source of production in the United States for Mazda in the Alabama plant shared with Toyota's Corolla Cross. All right, so we're going to keep that in the fanny pack so we don't lose a key for a car that I don't own. That would be not good. CX-70, look at the sales go up here, up 25%. And it's up, well, massively on the year, but again, it wasn't on sale entirely last year. So looking good for the CX-70. Wow. So you're going to see Mazda focusing on these higher profit margin vehicles, and they're going to continue to pump these things up as long as they can, as long as the market's going to keep buying them because the profit margins are up so much. But overall, like because of the Mazda 3, the cars are down 25%. Their crossovers are down 1%, largely due to the CX-30 tanking, due to the lack of a profitability because of tariffs now. All right. And check this out. There's actually one more selling day this August compared to last August. Does not help Mazda's case here. So when we look at the overall sales month over month, you know, there's a volume percentage and then there's a DSR. So they're selling far worse on a daily selling rate than they are on just a volume basis. So, you know, it's going to continue to look like this for Mazda. And Subaru. What is Subaru doing to maybe combat the tariffs? Well, it's not looking good for either of these companies right now. Strong month of sales with the second consecutive August of more than 60,000 vehicles sold. And it was the best month ever for Crosstrek. That's saying something because the Crosstrek has been one of their best sellers for years now. Best August for Solterra, whoop-de-doo. Forester sales up 6%. All right, so those are the highlights. But we know Subaru's down this month, so what is holding them back? Well, the Ascent has been descending all year long. It's not a good vehicle for the segment. It's not very competitive. I hardly see any on the roads. They continue to shrink this vehicle. It's only a matter of time before it's discontinued and Toyota will start building a fully electric Ascent in Kentucky, but that's been pushed back as well. Maybe 26, 27. We'll see what happens with that 3-row EV. If they even keep it a 3-row EV, Subaru needs it to be a hybrid as soon as possible, but who knows what's going to happen with it. Okay, you're going down, Abe. Now, the Ascent is built in Indiana, but they're not trying to pump this thing up, seemingly. There's just no... They're probably already not making a whole lot of money on the Ascent. All right, so tariffs or not, it's not looking good for this vehicle. Like I said, I think it's on life support before Toyota starts building a 3-row crossover for them out of Kentucky. BRZ down 36%. Again, sports cars continue to shrink. Unfortunately, that's just the market. They're too expensive. The market's going down, and one of the first things you start seeing in a shrinking market is sports cars or specialty cars being snuffed out. All right. BRZ, though, still up on the year, but it's not going to finish up on the year. I can almost guarantee it. Crosstrek. Well, at second best August ever, being up 0.2%. So it's kind of plateaued here. It's up 11.5% on the year. It is pulling away as the best selling vehicle in Subaru's lineup, and it should finish as a sales king this year, just narrowly beating out the Forester. Now, the Forester, again, up 6%. And the Forester, look how much the Crosstrek out. So by 6,000 units, the Forester got outsold by the Crosstrek. People, hey, no. He almost turned off my electrical power strip, which would have shut most of the stuff down. So, all right, it's up 6%. But guys, look at the market is speaking that they need more affordable vehicles. Now, the Crosstrek and the Forester are not that much different in price. And I like the Forester a lot better than the Crosstrek, personally. All right. Impreza, shoot. They just killed off the base trim on this, which shot up the base or the entry-level price for the Impreza like $4,000. That's not going to help sales. It might help them reduce tariff impacts, but it's not going to do anything for sales. Legacy, rest in peace. Outback down 4%. Outback, it's going into uncharted waters as well. Abe just speaking of Subaru, he just gave me a WRX STI hatchback. Rest in peace, right? We would love to have that. But since we're talking about the the Impreza, there are talks coming out of Japan that the next WRX will be a liftback. That would move the needle for some sales. versus a current WRX sedan, which is completely in the gutter. It's not that great of a car, the WRX. It's not that user-friendly to drive compared to the competition. It doesn't have that much performance. The fun factor is just not there compared to other cars that cost a lot less, like an Elantra N, for example. Yes, all-wheel drive is cool, but when you're spending over 40 grand, see, almost bumps his head on the desk, just go buy a GR Corolla. A lot more fun to be had in that vehicle, as well as other things as well. And over 40 grand, I'm saving my money for a Type R, no doubt. So WRX will continue to shrink. Solterra, whatever. It's a whatever. I mean, it's electric sales. They're probably not making a whole lot of money, if any, on it. And who knows what's going to happen after EV tax credit is done. Subaru Outback -4%, again with a new redesign coming, and it's not launching with the hybrid, which is a big missed opportunity. And the Outback going up so much in price compared to last year's, I don't know. I just don't know how I feel about it. Mazda has more compelling vehicles to me than Subaru. You know, you have the CX-50 hybrid from sourced from Toyota's hybrid camp. I think that's a really good vehicle to have on the market. Subaru, you know, yes, they're starting to implement some hybrids, which are good, but they're way too expensive and they're going to have to discount them versus the competition. Subaru, though, still has a very loyal fan base, but, you know, with the redesigned Outback taking some steps back in some ways on the design, but having a better interior, we'll see. We'll see what sales are on it, but it is very expensive. You know, the new one, it's about $50,000 fully loaded. It's pretty crazy. But yeah, with the Ascent not being a complete fumble for them, that would be an opportunity for them to do well. But if you look at Mazda, look at where they're doing well. It's the CX-90 up 17%. Their large crossovers are doing well for Mazda. When you look at Subaru, it's their small crossovers, the Crosstrek and the Forester, really pulling their weight. All right. And then the Outback and the Ascent seeing some setbacks. All right. So they're just kind of opposites. And, you know, Subaru's sports cars going down in sales, while Mazda's super unique and charming MX-5 Miata going back up in sales. Look at sales for the MX-5 this year, 6,700 units. The WRX at 7,500 units. But look, WRX only sold at 611 last month, where the Miata sold 840. So they're just heading in opposite directions. As we go back to the total tally here, and both the Koreans and Toyota just have such a diverse product lineup that they will be able to kind of weather these unsure waters. You look at Honda and Acura, especially Acura not having a diversified lineup enough, no hybrids, no real performance options anymore. I would say on average, they just don't have enough powertrain options. You look at Mazda, they have plug-in hybrids, they have hybrids, they have mild hybrids. You don't need to look at Mary Barra over there. And they have really strong large platform SUVs. So I think they're going to be okay. Their sales are going to go down, but it's very tactical for them to just snuff at the sales of low profit margin vehicles compounded with tariffs. So Mazda 3, CX-30 are going to keep going down for Mazda. Subaru, WRX has gone, BRZ, like, I know I say they're gone, they're still on sale, but like, they're just, it's not going to do anything. The Ascent, their large platform vehicle, hasn't done ever that well for them. It continues to shrink. The uncertainty with the new Outback is very concerning, potentially long-term. Legacy gone, Impreza, it could be gone too, and maybe they just bring the Impreza in as a WRX version in the future. That's a possibility, but like it's not that great of news for Subaru and Mazda. Their sales are going down, and they are highly dependent on imports. We'll see what happens with them as the year goes on, but I actually don't have very high hopes for Mazda, Subaru, or Honda as the year goes on, especially not for Acura, unfortunately. And that hurts me a lot to say, but the market is definitely showing signs of slowing down here, and it might continue to accelerate with declining sales as we go forward, especially if you're not the Koreans or Toyota in this situation. So I'll catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more news updates, and peace.